But Jesus' authority came from who he was, not from any outward and superficial trapping. As followers of Christ, God has given us authority. We can confidently speak and act on his behalf because he has authorized us. Are you exercising your authority? The Pharisees demanded to know where Jesus got his authority. If Jesus said his authority came from God, they would accuse him of blasphemy. If he said that he was acting on his own authority, the crowd would be convinced that the Pharisees had the greater authority. But Jesus answered them with a seemingly unrelated question that exposed their real motives. They didn't really want an answer to their question. They only wanted to trap him. Jesus showed that the Pharisees wanted the truth only if it supported their own views and causes. For more information on John the Baptist, see Matthew chapter 3 and his profile in John chapter 1. The son who said he would obey and then didn't represent the nation of Israel in Jesus' day, they said they wanted to do God's will, but they constantly disobeyed. They were phony, just going through the motions. It is dangerous to pretend to obey God when our hearts are far from him because God knows our true intentions. Our actions must match our words. I'm going to repeat that. Our actions must match our words. The main elements in this parable are number one, the landowner, God. Number two, the vineyard, Israel. Number three, the vine dressers, the Jewish religious leaders. Number four, the landowner's servants, the prophets and priests who remained faithful to God and preached to Israel. Number five, the Son, Jesus, chapter 21, verse 36. And number six, the other vine dressers, the Gentiles. Jesus was exposing the religious leaders' murderous plot, chapter 21, verse 45. In trying to reach us with his love, God finally sent his own son. Jesus' perfect life, his words of truth, and his sacrifice of love are meant to cause us to listen to him and to follow him as Lord. If we ignore God's gracious gifts of his son, we reject God himself. I'm going to repeat that. If we ignore God's gracious gift of his son, we reject God himself. Jesus refers to himself as the stone which the builders rejected. Although Jesus was rejected by many of his people, he will become the capstone or cornerstone of his new building, the church. See Acts chapter 4, verse 11, and 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 7. Jesus used this metaphor to show that one stone can affect people different ways, depending on how they relate to it. See Isaiah chapter 8, verse 14, 15, verse 28, and 16. Daniel chapter 2, verse 34, verse 44, and verse 45. Ideally, they will build on it. Many, however, will trip over it. And at the last judgment, God's enemies will be crushed by it. In the end, Christ, the building block, will become the crushing stone. He offers mercy and forgiveness now and promises judgment later. We should choose him now. I'm going to repeat that. We should choose him now. If your hands are free, place them over your heart and say this with me. I should choose him now. All right, family. With that in mind, let's go a little deeper. Not as spectators, but as participants. Let's hear this chapter the way heaven intends us to hear it. Jesus enters Jerusalem riding on a donkey, fulfilling prophecy and revealing the kind of king he is: humble, peaceful, yet authority. The crowds shout Hosanna, praising him publicly, yet many of these same voices will fall silent when obedience becomes costly. Jesus then enters the temple and drives out corruption. He declares that God's house is meant to be a house of prayer, not performance, profit, or pretense. This is not just about building, it's about the heart. Jesus is showing us that true worship requires cleansing. Next, Jesus curses the fig tree, not because it lacked leaves, but because it lacked fruit. Family, this is powerful. God is not impressed by appearance alone. Faith that does not produce fruit is faith that is not fully alive. When the religious leaders challenged his authority, Jesus exposes their motives. They don't want truth, they want control. Authority in the kingdom is not claimed, it is recognized by obedience and fruit. Then Jesus tells the parable of the two sons, one who says no but obeys, and one who says yes but does nothing. Obedience is not about words, it's about action. Finally, Jesus tells the parable of the wicked vineyard workers. God sent prophets, they were rejected. He sent his son, and he was rejected too. Yet Jesus declares himself the cornerstone, the stone others reject, but God establishes. Family, Matthew chapter 21 draws a line. You either receive the king or resist him. You either bear fruit or wither. You either obey or pretend. Family, let's pause here. Some of you feel tension of wanting to follow Jesus fully, but struggling to align your actions with your faith. That's exactly why I wrote Daily Calm, Navigating Life's Challenges with Ease. One simple exercise I want you to try today is the reflection prompt. Where is God inviting me to deeper obedience? Not louder praise. Write it down, sit with it. Let calm make room for conviction, not condemnation. You can find Daily Calm, Navigating Life's Challenges with Ease on Amazon or in the description below. You may also find it on our website at bit.ly/m/getmarriedwhole. All right, family, let's continue. Now, family, as we walk through this chapter, let's pause and hear from the Get Married Whole community because kingdom growth happens together. This first question comes from Rachel, age 31, from our Get Married Whole YouTube channel. Queen Rakihealya, how do I know if I'm truly obeying God or just saying the right thing? Rachel, thank you for your honesty. Jesus answers this directly in Matthew chapter 21. Obedience is revealed by fruit, not intention. Scripture shows us that action matters more than agreement. I'm going to repeat that. Scripture shows us that action matters more than agreement. Here's your kingdom key. Obedience is proven over time, not in moments. Ask yourself, what fruit is growing in my life? Stay encouraged. Growth begins with answers. This next question comes from Marcus, age 41, from our Get Married Whole at yahoo.com email. Queen Rakihealya, why does Jesus seem so harsh in this chapter? Marcus, this is such an important question. Jesus is not harsh, he is holy. Love without truth is permissive. Truth without love is harsh. Jesus holds both. And here's the kingdom key. Correction is a form of love when it leads to life. Jesus cleanses what he intends to inhabit. And this next question comes from Alyssa, age 29, from our Get Married Whole Instagram. Queen Rakihealya, what does it mean that Jesus is the cornerstone? Alyssa, this is a beautiful question. A cornerstone determines alignment. Everything is built around it. And for our kingdom key, when Jesus is not central, life becomes unstable. I'm going to repeat that. When Jesus is not central, life becomes unstable.